Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube, and follow us on Apple and Spotify podcasts, and rate us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
Coaching all the way back into junior high, as Drew Stevens was at the junior high I coach at Chittix, and Max Heineman was at Evans, and it was really good junior high baseball when those kids were in 7th and 8th grade, and now they're varsity guys, and they both happen to be at Normal Community now, so we're really blessed there. And before we even talk about Lucas, Tice Beckman is also a senior that isn't really on people's radars probably as a catcher because we have 2 Division I's, but he's got a lot of Division III interest in the American Rivers Conference over in Iowa and some other places over there that I think Tice will land too. And he had a really good summer defensively on his summer team. But yeah, Lucas is a jack of all trades. He could play all 9 positions depending on the day.
All right, welcome back to episode 60 here of the Bullpen. Coming off a massive weekend with the preseason All-State events and the Joliet preseason ID on Sunday. The preseason All-State events were awesome. I mean, I was on mounds pretty much evaluating most of the time, and there were just consistently upper 80s, arms touching 90s. I thought it was super impressive. Pete, I know you and Tyler were up there on hitting a lot of the day for both events. It was an awesome event on Saturday. So today we're going to be talking about both the Underclass and Upperclass, talking through some of our biggest winners, some of the players that made the biggest statements at the event. But I thought it was awesome overall.
Yeah, it was probably the best I've ever seen both of those events. Just the rounds of BP that I saw, like the depth was like insane. Like the number of like good grades that I had was, I was almost questioning myself. Like, am I wrong? Or these but no, like they were all warranted. And then the brief arms that I saw, like I've never seen that many high velos, like you said. Like it seemed like I was down there for maybe 15 arms, and there was only like 3 kids that didn't touch 90 on the mound that I was sitting on, which was insane. So it's just props to the kids for the hard work they're putting in. The numbers that these kids are putting up are crazy. And it's not going to slow down. You know what I mean? Like the training that they're all doing nowadays, like the work they're putting in, they treat it like how we did in college, and they're only in high school, and it's clearly, showing and paying off.
And I think like a huge shout out to you guys and our staff, because you guys are the ones going out all spring, all summer, all fall, identifying these guys, getting them on our list to get invited to the event, to invite the right guys. It is a hard event because we have to limit it, to a certain number. It's 2 events in one day up there at the max. There's only so many we can take. I mean, we're there all day running that event, bringing guys in shifts, and you guys identified the right guys. I think we as a staff, like it was, as I think you mentioned it, but as deep and as talented as I can remember an event. And I love it because we tailor our entire winter towards that event, especially with like the high school season being right behind this. But we run all the preseason ID events as well to identify these guys, get any standouts from the preseason, invites to this event, and man, it really capped off the winter in a loud way. And there's going to be so many guys to talk about in this episode that I'm going to feel guilty that we're leaving guys out. And I know we'll hit on them in the quick hits and stuff, and in future spotlights and event rollouts and analysis and data dives and stat stories and stuff like that. But there were so many guys that we could probably talk on a podcast all day long about this. So I was just really impressed, and huge shout out for all those players out there coming to the event, making the effort to get out to us. And I know they're kind of in the middle of tryouts right now as well, prepping for the high school season.
I will say also, like in years past, there'll be a couple guys that like maybe were, kind of under everybody else. That's just the nature of the beast, right? There's always going to be like tiers to it, right? There's levels to it, but I would, hand on the Bible, say that there wasn't a single person there that I thought did not deserve to be there or did not show well in some way for themselves. So props to those kids. And like I said, like the depth was incredible, but so was the high end talent and kids that just popped, kids that made big jumps. And we'll talk about that here soon with a ton of names. But it was just like, I'm just blown away, honestly, with these kids.
Yeah, well, I mean, before we get into all that, just a quick college baseball weekend recap. Couple teams from Illinois that had solid weekends. Illinois went 3-0 on the weekend. They didn't play like a one-team series. They played multiple teams throughout, but they're off to a 7-4 start. And then NIU went 3-1 against Lindenwood this weekend, and they are also off to a 7-4 start. SIU went 2-1 in their series over Seton Hall. Bradley went 2-1 in their series over Tennessee Martin. And then SIUE went 2-2 over the weekend against Eastern Michigan. So some Illinois teams doing well to start off the year. But are there any names from these Illinois guys that have stood out to you so far this season?
Well, there was a big one. Brandon Bakes, he won Player of the Week. Hold on, what conference is that? MVC?
Missouri Valley.
Yeah. Brandon Bakes, he won MVC Player of the Week, I just saw. And it looks like someone has notes in there on him, so feel free to jump in. But it looks like he's batting about 340 on the year. And with 4 bombs already, 4 doubles, 11 RBIs, and 16 hits. So he's just continuing to rake. I mean, that's just kind of what he's been doing. And so it's good to see him off to a good start.
Well, and Connor Lockwood, too, he won the Missouri Valley Pitcher of the Week for Valpo. He threw 7 innings, struck out 2, didn't allow a run, and no walks against USC Upstate. So a couple of Illinois guys taking home some weekly honors in the Missouri Valley.
I love that. You mentioned Illinois going, 3-0 on the week. I think they've won 5 straight. And, I mean, maybe not a surprise, but being this young and doing what he's doing, like, I got to call out AJ Putty. I think we've maybe talked on him in, like, every episode. But it is really impressive. Huge shout out to AJ, hitting 409 on the year with 4 home runs, a triple, 6 doubles. Like, he's just slugging. 22 RBIs, and earned Big Ten Freshman of the Week last week. I see somebody put a note in here. So there's a lot of Illinois guys making, statements for Illinois this year so far. Like Michael Farina, Colin Jennings, there's a bunch. But man, AJ Putty, what he's doing is really impressive, and should earn him like national recognition. Hitting 409. So that's one I want to call out. Another one sitting there in the Big Ten that we haven't talked too much on, but started as a freshman at Indiana, Cooper Malamasian out of Nazareth. He hit 320 last year with like 17 doubles. I was kind of just briefly looking back at some stats. This year he's hitting 330 so far. He plays shortstop. Long time just absolute stud. Can stick on the left side of the diamond, shortstop, and really handling the bat. That's another one I wanted to call out. And then Aiden Hazy from Joliet Catholic. He's out now at Mercer. Really impressed us his senior year at the Pro Case. Earned an invite to the Super 60 just with the pure stuff. Really dynamic in a bullpen setting. And went to Tennessee out of high school. Now he's at Mercer. Has not given up an earned run on the year. Now he's thrown 6 2/3 innings pitched. He's only given up 3 hits, 2 walks, and he struck out 11. And then the number that really stood out to me is guys are hitting 136 off of him. So that dynamic stuff that he always had shown is really now starting to play on the field, which is one of the reasons why you got to bet on arm talent. Guys that have really dynamic stuff and arm talent, yeah, it may take some guys a little bit longer than others, but if it clicks, it can turn into some really, really good above average, stuff and play at that high level Division I.
I actually have another MVC honor for Illinois. Sohrab Razai from Chicago Lab, Wabash Valley. He's at Bradley now. He was the newcomer of the week for the MVC. So we got 3 adding him in there.
Sohrab, I mean, you guys kind of joke about it. My affinity for little undersized middle infielders. Sohrab fits that bill perfectly, and he played the game fast. He's a hard-nosed guy. Like, just a pesky at bat, really good bat to ball guy. So really cool to see him getting some play there at Bradley.
Yeah, and how about Cam Appenzeller at Tennessee? On the year, he's pitched 11 innings, has 15 strikeouts, only 3 walks, 2 earned runs, and 4 hits. And then an Effingham native, Josh McDevitt, for Missouri, has 14 innings pitched with 9 strikeouts. So just some more guys there. Ethan Eberle, I had him in here too. Last week against Central Michigan, he threw 5 2/3 innings, struck out 9, walked 3, allowed 2 earned runs and 5 hits. But just some arms here in the Central Illinois area that just keep kind of having good years. And Ethan had a good year last year for Louisville, and I'm sure he's kind of been their guy this year too so far. So we'll see how they continue to go.
There's probably more guys. This was probably the first weekend where I really was checked out on college baseball. Just given what we had going on with the All States and the Joliet and all the follow-up stuff. But I'm sure there's some other guys, worth a mention, and maybe we'll catch up on that next week, but I doubt it because our work here is not slowing down trying to get ready for this high school season.
One thing I just had to mention, it's not college related, was Ryan Sloan. I saw some videos of him in spring training throwing a fastball up to 99, which is really no surprise to us. I know we saw him in the upper 90s throughout his senior year, but it looks like, I don't know if this is the right way to word it, but he's becoming like a potential guy for them to where, I don't know, I've seen some things on Twitter to where people think he might potentially get called up this year, maybe next year or something, because I think he's kind of having a good start to the spring, maybe. So I just had to call that out. He's probably one of the top.
He's just a stud.
Yeah, yeah.
He's long been super polished, with a great head on his shoulders, with a workhorse frame, with 3 above average like big league pitches. It's starter profile, and I mean, he was long, highly touted as one of the top prospects in the Midwest, in the country, and like he's just carrying it over to pro ball, which you love to see. And I remember Coach Kalale at York just saying he was one of the smartest, players and pitchers that he had throughout his program, and Kalale was doing it for forever. So like, it's no surprise. A guy that has a good head on his shoulders, knows the game, works his tail off, has the stuff along with it, and you meant like he's turning into one of the top prospects in all of baseball. Would not shock me if he is a frontline starter in the big leagues here in the near future.
Well, one more Tyler, that's supposed to be a starter. Oh, go ahead. I don't want to cut you off.
One more thing with Ryan that I think. It was the only time I saw him in high school was at the 4A state championships in Joliet. And I believe it was just Tyler and I down in the well. It's like that camera well behind home at Joliet. And Drew, maybe you were down there as well. I don't remember. But I remember Tyler had the radar gun on Ryan, and he threw a changeup at 90 miles an hour in the first inning. And I've never seen anything like that in my life. And I remember looking at Tyler just going, are you kidding me? This kid's throwing a 90-mile-an-hour changeup, and it had movement. It was filthy. And to now see him doing this in pro ball is awesome. So rooting for Ryan, and cool to see. But, yeah, Pete, go ahead. I see you got another name to mention here too.
No, just one more that, apparently is one to watch. And, I mean, that's no surprise to us. But Russell Dorsey from The Score, actually, Gav, you shot this over on Twitter. He's an MLB analyst for the MLB Network, but he mentioned Sam Antonacci by name as someone that will be in the bigs for 12 to 15 years as like an unheralded prospect per se. Like he's not like the Noah Schultz right now, right? Who's like one of their top prospects, but a guy that's kind of under the radar that he thinks is going to make an impact for a long time. So that was really cool to see. Just someone like kind of under the radar like him, even though he just hit a bomb in spring training, but to get that type of praise and to like have someone in the industry think that highly of you is just really cool to see from where we sit.
Yeah, so taking a look at preseason All-State Underclass now, I think we're going to talk through our top pitchers. Yeah, Pete, you and I were kind of talking at the beginning of this episode like about how many arms there were that were like touching 90, and that's great if you can throw 90, but if it's not clean, if it's not strikes, that's, another thing. And with this arm here, Anderson Kaufman out of Alton, the 2028, it was 90 to 92 with strikes. It was polished, threw a slider and changeup for strikes with good pitch or good movement on it. Like, he's a competitor. It was one of the most polished pens that I've seen doing this, probably. Really not enough good things I can say about Anderson. Like, it was just clean mover, easy. It comes out of the hand so good. And I think he's just one of those guys that he's one of the best pitchers in Illinois. And I know we talked about it yesterday, probably in the Midwest too.
I mean, I actually really like them with the bat too, but no, like I watched the video, I wasn't down there for it. It's, that's how it looks. It's so athletic. It's in the zone. He repeats, and like you said, he's a competitor, right? It plays in game. Like I saw it. I made the drive down to Edwardsville last year to see him starting against Edwardsville as a freshman, on the mound, and like he has that it factor to him, right? He wants to beat you. He doesn't care who you are. He knows he's good in a good way. It's not like he's not cocky. He's not showing you up. He just knows that he's good. And that's what you need. Those are the guys that make it far, right? They believe in themselves, and they know that they have the stuff to beat you. And I just can't get over, like, when I was watching him. He didn't have the best day either, but like you could just tell, like, that kid has it, and he's gonna be playing baseball for a really, really long time.
Yeah, but I absolutely love the video. It just like it's one of those videos where it's like it excites you for Kickoff Classic coming up here in a couple weeks. Like, we got to see like his start when we're down there, I feel like. But it was awesome. For me, I'm going to go with Dodger Frederick here out of Lane Tech, 2028 prospect. Last bullpen of the day for the Underclass before we transition over to Upperclass, and like it was just absolutely electric. Listen, I saw Dodger last spring. It was really good. I came away like, hey, like, and at that time, like, our 2028 rankings were really small, and I just remember coming away like, Drew, like, we gotta rank this kid. Like, this is pretty unreal for at that time a freshman starting on varsity. The way the stuff has just ticked up, like, every time we see him, to me is what stands out. Like, the frame is incredible. Like, he's 6'4", 216. At 16, like, I don't even know if this kid can drive yet. And, like, his fastball was 92 to 94. It was giving me similar vibes to Brady Bunick's bullpen last year at the same event. I think Bunick is probably a little bit more of a dynamic mover, but, like, man, Frederick gets down the mound well in his own right. Like, his slider to me was like flashing serious wipeout potential at 81 to 82. Like, that's a type of pitch for opposing right-handed hitters. I don't think any of them are going to like see in this spring, coming off on, a low 90s fastball. And then he's showing me like a real splitter that can, do the same type of damage to left-handed hitters on the other side. Like 82 to 84, it's got that hard, fading action to the arm side. So I was pretty blown away. Very high octane stuff for a kid. I don't even know if this kid has his license. So shout out to Dodger, another guy where it's like, hey, we gotta go see this spring.
Yeah, and I mean, another one of the top arms. He was on the mound just right next to me. So I was kind of peeking over at it and just looking back at video. It's right-handed pitcher Nick Chirotto out of Edwardsville, another 28 from that Southern Illinois area like Kaufman. It is athletic. It's clean. It's easy. The fastball works in the upper 80s. I think he touched a 90. Really good curveball. It's average 2359 RPM with quality like metrics to it. It was negative 12 inches of horizontal or induced vertical break, and then negative 16.8 inches of horizontal movement. He threw a changeup that had some fade, and his cutter was kind of like a sweeper slider feel at like 78 to 79. But he's just a really, really impressive arm who also can do it at the plate as well. And Drew, I see you've got some notes in there maybe that you want to touch on him.
No, yeah, you guys, I mean, I think to kick this off, you mentioned, hey, it's great to throw hard, right? But it's all about like how you do it. And what kind of secondaries do you have, and what kind of feel do you have, and how does your arm work? Are you athletic? Are you a good mover? And like, Chirotto makes everything he does look easy. Like he's throwing easy upper 80s on the mound. He's got the starter profile and he's highly athletic. Like he ran a 6.78 60. He was 92 across the infield, 98 exit velocity. And like his brother Joe, he's trying to two-way at Alabama right now. Like Nick was awesome on the mound. He's been awesome on the mound. He's a two-way guy for me. Like until one thing peaks above the other, like they're both really, really interesting. He's just an overall stud. And you mentioned Anderson Kaufman, and like it gets me really fired up about that Metro East area right now. Like we had it last year with the Connor Blues of the world and the Austin Muzos, and in the past with Xander Muth and Drew Gray, and like they just keep coming through the woodworks down there in the Metro East, and it's like, all right, here's kind of the next crop of legit guys. Nick Chirotto, Anderson Kaufman, a guy at Highland, Tyler Mertens, we really liked, like a left-hander, loose mover. Matt Morris, a triad, really curious to get a look at him this spring. So like, it was just really cool to see that. Them coming up to the max to show us kind of what they've done in the winter. I know we saw Chirotto at the GBA Scout Day and stuff like that. But man, there's no slowing down in that Metro East area. And Nick Chirotto, I thought, had one of the best overall showings of anybody at the event.
Yeah, another one.
Sorry, Gab, before you move on. Like, with Chirotto, he was one of the first guys to throw, and, like, he was on your mound. I'm, like, trying to sneak a peek over at it because, like, we've been seeing stuff from this winter, and, like, just the movement patterns, like, it's so impressive at that age, like, similar to Kaufman, right? Like, Kaufman, the way he moves for 2028, like, it's kind of ridiculous, and, like, man, how smooth Chirotto was, it was just really impressive, and that's the type of stuff you bet on. So, just want to give him some more kudos there.
I'm going to, like, even you look at his body type, he is nowhere near where he's going to be someday. Like, he is still baby-faced, really thin, has like so much more quality muscle to put on down the road. Like there's so much more maturing to do, and like with how easy he makes everything look, like to me that's a high end, caliber prospect in the class in the Midwest. He's going to be a high follow, as Anderson Kaufman is. Like every school in the country needs to know about both of those guys.
Yeah, another arm just to mention here is right-handed pitcher Landon Connolly, a 2028 out of Naperville Central. Fastball was 90 to 92, and then had some good metrics on his curveball and slider, but just an arm worth following. I mean, 92 as a 28, like that's just nothing to shy away from. Like that is unreal numbers there. So a guy out of Naperville Central to keep an eye on for sure.
Kind of came out of nowhere, if I'm being honest. We had seen some video in the winter, got him an invite to the event. Gonna be a guy we're gonna want to watch in game. See what it looks like in game. Clearly, there's arm talent there. There's a lot of arm strength. Let's see how he can handle himself in a game. Who knows what his role is going to be for Naperville Central this year? If he's going to be a varsity guy, I have no idea kind of what they're working with there. But man, Landon Connolly definitely put himself on the map as. I think for all of us, we're talking about the preseason underclass here, preseason all-state underclass. Like, this is a huge part, as the entire winter is, to, hey, who are we going to follow this spring? And who are the guys that are getting on that preliminary list of, like, we need to see them for the future games. We need to go through and cross-check every single one of these guys now for the future games. Start building out that roster throughout the spring, early on in the summer. And, like, Landon Connolly's a guy we're going to at least have to reach out to and see, like, hey, what is your status this spring? Where are you throwing? When are you throwing? And go from there. But huge shout out to Landon, because that was a name that we were not too familiar with before the event, and he went out there and, like you said, I mean, he's throwing in the low 90s as a sophomore. So clearly there's a lot of talent there.
All right, so this next topic is I call it upside arm, and I put this guy here because I thought this would make sense for him, but he doesn't only have upside, he's presently a very, very talented arm right now, but I think there's so much more to come in right-handed pitcher Jack Postma, a 28 out of Barrington. He's 6'5", 200 pounds. He continually is looking stronger in the frame each time we see him, but there's so much more physical development still to come, in my opinion. It's wiry, long levers, and something that's really impressive to me is the way that he moves and his ability to control his levers. Because he is so tall at such a young age, but he moves really well. It's super easy. and the fastball was 88 to 90, touch 91. And then it was pretty polished too. Like he threw a slider and a changeup. Also threw a sinker at 89 to 91. It had 16.9 inches of horizontal movement. But with Jack, like it's only getting better. He moves really, really well for a sophomore at that size. Like it would not surprise me if he just continues to have everything about his repertoire take up the metrics, the polish. Like I am very high on Jack, and I'm excited to see what his future is these next couple of years, and a guy for sure to go out and see this spring.
It's really bold of you, Gav. But no, I mean, he was one of my favorites of the day. Like you said, I mean, the frame continues to get better. Like he's 6'5", and he's 200 pounds now. Like he's starting to fill out a little bit in a good way. But yeah, I mean, it's 91, but it's from a low slot, right? He's got that lower kind of deceptive window. And there's two different shapes to the fastball. Like the sinker is a different shape with more run, and the fastball can kind of play up in the zone, the four seam. And I mean, the changeup's a real weapon. Like it averaged 1 IVB and up to 18 inches of run. That's a real changeup, especially from that slot. And then the slider, like the spin's still coming along, but the shape is good. You know what I mean? It's like, and you can throw it for strikes in game. So that's 4 real pitches, a ton of upside, and a great call.
Well, and you kind of said it at the start, and I think you're spot on, Gav. Like, he, to me, is one of the higher floor, higher ceiling prospects in the state. Got some varsity time as a freshman. But another guy I'm just going to throw in here, he's long been a fan favorite of ours, but, like, on that same, like, high floor, high ceiling is Colin Lawler at Marist, 2028. Now, there's some other guys, pumping 90, 92. Like, that's not Lawler right now. It's an athletic, long-levered body, left-handed arm. He was more in the 84, 85 range, but it looks unhittable just watching him throw a pen. The way he moves down the mound, the slot, it's a lower release height, and he gets a lot of IVB to it. I want to say he was averaging about 18 inches of IVB. And then he's throwing a hard slider, maybe even cutter, tight profile pitch there in the upper 70s, and then a changeup with a lot of horizontal. And he's long been like a dominant performer. He had a great freshman year for Marist, and like he just continues to be trending in that right direction. Like for me, who cares if it's like 84 versus somebody throwing 92 right now as a sophomore? Like, we know that guy performs. We love the movement patterns. He's only going to continue to get better. That is a left-hander that I'm watching in this class, that I think's, about as good as it gets when you stack up the left-handers in this class. So keep an eye on Colin Lawler for another standout spring season, and that's a guy we'll be out to see as well.
I'm going right-handed pitcher Theo Schroeder. I think that's how you say the last name, Theo Schroeder, out of DePaul College Prep of 2029. And again, another upside arm here for me. 6'2", 155-pound frame. It was wiry, again, kind of long levers. Tons of physical upside still to come, but on the mound, it's loose and athletic. He has a quick arm. The fastball sat 85 to 87, and he worked up to 88 miles an hour with carry. Threw a curveball at 71 to 73, and then a changeup at 76 to 79. Also threw a 77 to 80 mile an hour cutter. And just a upside arm there in that 29 class. I mean, up to 88 at that age with the movement patterns in the frame. Like, just wait until the strength continues to develop. You'll see that velo tick up, I'm sure. But love that arm there out of DePaul College Prep.
And not sure if you mentioned it, up to 91 from the outfield as well. One of the top outfield velos of the entire event, and he's a 2029.
My first guy, like I said, I have two here for this category, but my first one's going to be right-handed pitcher Jacob Height out of St. Lawrence at 2028. Listen, Jacob was like a big winner for us. I want to say that was this past fall on both sides of the ball, and like he did it well from both sides of the ball, like at this event as well. But on the mound, man, like it's 6'1", 179. I just kind of love how the arm works. It's kind of longer but loose. Works out of that high 3/4 slot, and like his fastball was 81 to 83. He touched an 85 right at the end of his pen, but it's got some sinking action to it. The more impressive stat really with Jacob from this is like we talk about these young guys and like the stuff they have. Um, his fastball was in the zone 67% of the time. He threw his curveball for strikes 80% of the time and threw his changeup for strikes 60% of the time. So to me, like, yeah, we're talking about their stuff and everything, but like at that age, if you can actually like control, especially your off-speed stuff, like I feel like that's usually the thing that comes later. But for him to control his stuff, I know it's a bullpen setting, it's not in game. Still, to me, that's impressive. His curveball was 70 to 72, flashed some depth. Changeup had that sink and fade type action to it at 73 to 76, but no clue. Like St. Lawrence is loaded this year. No clue like if he'll be able to get some innings this spring, but definitely a guy I'm sure Coach Lotus is excited about his future.
Yeah, one last one for me, Ty, was right-handed pitcher Sonny Mateo out of Montini Catholic in 2028. And again, just that 6'1", 153-pound frame, plenty of room to add strength to that. But it was minimal effort on the mound, pretty easy. Fastball came out clean, was low 80s, but worked up to 86. And then his curveball averaged 23.35 RPM. Metrically, negative .2 induced vertical break and negative 18.7 inches of horizontal movement. So a 28 arm there to keep an eye on for sure.
He's another guy that, was a two-way as well. Like a shortstop that's really good on the mound. Love those guys. They tend to be athletic. They tend to have a lot of feel. Nick Braultz, for me, is right up that, same alley at Champaign Central. He's kind of like a pick-to-click for me, a sleeper, if you want to talk about that. We might have a category here for sleeper arms. I just think Nick Braultz is going to continue to be a guy that elevates. He was 83, 86. He ran a 6.67 as a position player. So give it one of those. But no, Brault's, there's something about his presence on the mound too and how athletic he moves down the mound. And then just looking at the body type, like it's athletic, broad shoulders, like 6'1", 180 pounds, and really good breaking ball, high spin breaking ball that he's got feel for, throws for a strike, has good shape to it, gives me starter profile. I think this guy, when he's a senior, like he may be 83, 86 right now, I would not be surprised at all if it's a 90, 92 guy with a ton of pitchability as a senior. But that's just one of my kind of pick-to-click fan favorites right there.
Yeah, my last upside arm here is right-handed pitcher Vicente Amaro out of De La Salle, 2029. He's a guy who kind of came onto the scene last spring at a Rising Stars event for us. Went to our Rising Stars game last summer, and like the way his stuff is ticked up and also the way he moves, I feel like he's gotten a lot more athletic moving down the mound. Like last year at this time, like he was just a little raw, right? Like he's a younger guy. I thought it was raw last year, but like, man, he's 6 foot 140. The fastball was 85 to 86 and kind of showing me some carry at times. Like he topped out at nearly 18 inches of IVB. The curveball was 71 to 73. Had some sweep, but he could throw it in the zone for strikes. And then his changeup was 76 to 78. Had that hard downer and also showing some fade to it at times as well. Like, just really impressive for a freshman. Like I said, just the strides he's made. Like, kid we've seen now a few times coming to our events. So, wanted to give him his kudos.
Yeah, looking here at two-way standouts, one of the biggest standouts for me from a two-way perspective was right-handed pitcher Cannon Baxley at 2028 out of Caneland. And on the mound, I think the thing that impressed me the most, like we'll get into the metrics and the fastball and stuff, but was how easy it was. Watching the video back, it looked like he was just flicking the ball in there. Like it was just so easy, like no effort at all, and it was coming out at 85 to 88 with the fastball. The curveball was low 70s, averaged 25.19 RPM. Metrically, negative 19 inches of induced vertical break, negative 8 inches of horizontal movement. He killed a spin on a changeup that was 78 to 80. I think it was like 1,000 RPM or something. But yeah, Cannon's just one of those two-way guys that I know at the plate too. He had a big day. I think he ran a 6. Was it a 6.7? Does anyone know that off the top of their head?
Talking about Baxley?
Baxley, yeah.
Yeah, he ran a
Yep.
6.77.
Yeah. Just a really good two-way there out of Caneland.
I'll go to mine next. Gavin, I see you got multiple here. I'll start out Josh Wimette, out of Carmel Catholic at 2028. Guy was a super sophomore for us last year. We know he can do it on both sides of the ball. He had a great all-around showing on Saturday. Left-handed swing, like it's high bat to ball in game, but in this setting he reached 100 miles an hour off the bat, but it's really easy. It's simple. He was also 88 from the outfield, but I loved how much better it's gotten on the mound. Like he's long been like a smooth, easy mover down the mound. It's still that way. For me, I feel like the biggest stride was like with his off-speed stuff, kind of like firming it up, getting making everything a little bit sharper with the secondaries. His fastball was 84 to 86. Curveball was 69 to 71, but ton of feel for the zone. And then his changeup 74 to 76. And to me, like that pitch, I think is a real out pitch this spring for him over there at Carmel Catholic. Like I think he's going to get a ton of ground balls with a pitch like that, and also miss bats. So wanted to shout out Josh. Like I came away very, very impressed with just how the off-speed stuff is really ticked up.
Yeah, and another right-handed arm that I liked that also showed well with the bat is right-handed pitcher Brock Hamilton out of Homewood Flossmoor at 2028. Just a strong, big-bodied, 6'5", 240-pound frame with strength all throughout that frame. But he moves really well for that size. The fastball was 84 to 88, showed a curveball at 70 to 74 with like 11.5 shape. And then he was also throwing a splitter at 73 to 77. And just an arm there that I was really impressed with. And then at the plate, looking back at it, he had 5 balls over 95 miles an hour and also peaked at 97.6 miles an hour. So he's a right-handed hitter at the plate as well. So Brock Hamilton, a 2028 out of Homewood Flossmoor to know.
Yeah, 6'5", 240 isn't supposed to move like that on the mound. I saw it. It was super loose and easy, but yeah, at the plate, I know myself and Tyler were big fans of him. Just the strength that he has and the effort that it takes to get to it is almost non-existent. So one to really watch on both sides of the ball for sure.
Yeah, and another two-way for me, left-handed pitcher Luke Crowder at 2028 out of Bennett. Fastball was 85 to 88, touched 89. Again, I like the way that he moved. It was pretty easy. Showed a curveball with like 12-6 shape that had late depth at times. He threw a slider that was more horizontal in the mid-70s. And then he mixed in a changeup that was in the mid-70s. He did lower his arm slot like a little bit on that pitch, but it did get some fade to it. But I just really like the mover. He's an athlete. I think there's upside there. 6'2", 170-pound frame. So liked him on the mound.
Yeah, the swing really works too. It's super loose and flat and easy. I don't really know what I like him more as right now because I do think the bat has a chance to be really good. But no, he's a great one to follow this spring for sure.
So a couple guys that we had, really good two-way notes on, and I'm not gonna speak too much on like how it exactly looked because I didn't see a ton of these guys with everything else we had going on. But Silas Rainey, probably one of the top 2029 two-way guys in attendance. Just looking at the numbers he put up and our notes we had on him. Mason Koth as well. He was a junior future game participant for us this past summer. Long levered guy, really good notes across the board. And then Paulie Hobbs as well. He's now, I think, transferring to Hanover Central in Indiana, but he was another junior future gamer that has loud tools across the board. And I just wanted to get in on, one thing that I was really locked in on for the majority of the morning was the Underclass infield defense. And it was really good across the board. Like, we talk about how deep the arms were and just how impressive it was. Like, I was super impressed with the infield defense at shortstop over there. And, like, a couple guys that just stood out to me that I want to call out. I won't go too, in depth on them, but Mason Almazan was one of the biggest winners for me as far as like the strides he's taken since the last time we saw him, the way the tools ticked up. Like, he was upper 80s across the infield with all kinds of actions. And one thing that stood out to me that I'm always looking for is like these guys that throw hard across the infield. That's great, right? But how many are actually on the bag? How many crow hops are they taking? And Mason Almazan was on the chest, on the glove every single time. It was like maybe the most accurate arm through all the infield defense, and then he was upper 80s on the mound as well. Peter Pignatello from Bennett 2028 was another standout to me. Like he's taken some really good strides. Since the last time we had seen him, he's a left-handed hitting shortstop. Also pitches, but I think, the calling card might be him as a position player. And I thought the swing was really clean. I thought he took a really good round at infield. Andrew Jones, a 2029 out of Marist, was one of the more natural infield defenders. I thought his arm had really ticked up. Like it was playing with a lot of carry across the diamond. Gaetano Lazara was one of my favorites as well. Lake Park 2028. Really good feet, like active feet, plays, on the balls of his feet or I guess on his toes. But really active, played through the baseball well, arm played really clean, had a really like advanced double play turn, body control play. Like that's when you're looking at the athleticism, the body control, like how do they move? How do they handle their body on the move? Are they on skates? Or, do they have really good control of their levers? So Chase Boykin was another one. Marion Catholic, 2029. He ran a 6.6960. As a 2029, like that's elite. And that speed and that range really played up on the infield for me. I loved it. He's a flat out like left side shortstop type defender with big time actions. Braden McMillan is another one. Timothy Christian, 2029. I thought he had a really sound round of infield defense. Was another name that I wasn't like super familiar with. And then Davis Venters at Mount Zion, like very fluid mover, easy, plays on the move, really good body control, like I mentioned earlier, can throw from multiple slots. Really liked what Davis Venters presented as well. And there's some others that I don't just have, written down right here that I can't wait to look into in the future. But those were just a couple that I thought deserved mentions.
Should we move on to best overall prospect here? All right, I'll stick my neck out on this one and go with Carver Cone. The dude just is an absolute stud, just continues to get better, like true switch hitter. I remember a couple of years ago I asked him which side was his natural side, and he said he didn't know, which is scary, like in a good way. Like the kid just feels natural from both sides. But he peaked at 102 left-handed and 104 right-handed. And maybe the most impressive thing was he ran a 6.63 a week after fully getting cleared with the injury that he had at the super sophomore games. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I know he had to get surgery. So the kid was out for like 6 months and got cleared. A week later, runs a 6.63. And the tools are just across the board, right? He's 92 from the outfield too, and he can really go get it out there. He's a natural defender with instincts and range. And then he told me just for fun that he was up to 90 on the mound recently, like a week ago. So just an absolute freak, and it's no wonder he's number one in the state for us and a top 15 guy in the country.
Yeah, I obviously echo everything you just said about Carver. I had him listed as mine, but I had another name too, and that's Todd Delaney Jr. out of Nazareth, the 2029. Like I think the thing with both those guys is they look the part of guys that should be, at the top of the class, right? Carver's number one in the 2028s. Todd is currently number 2 in the 2029s. It's obviously very early for those 2029s, but I love Todd Delaney's round of BP. Him and like I know you did too. Like it's an athletic right-handed swing, but there was some polish there for a freshman. Love the look of him at the plate as well. Like I think in those types of settings it'd be very easy to understand maybe the younger guys being a little timid, hitting off the machine or whatever, but like Todd, it was just like, yeah, this is like another day, man. Like whatever. I'm just gonna rake. But love the look of both those guys. But those are my, probably my 2 favorite rounds of BP I saw. But just overall prospect wise as well, like both those guys just continue to stand out.
Yeah, Ty was one of my favorite rounds for sure. There was like clear rhythm, and the kid was like, you could just tell he was comfortable. He's got some swagger to him too. But yeah, I love the swing, and it's only going to get stronger, right? The frame is like really wiry right now. Like he's got a ton of room to grow. The feet look big. Like he's going to continue to get taller. yeah, just that kid, ton of upside there. Now I don't know, Drew and Tyler, did you guys have a top overall prospect here? If not, I can hop into like another favorite round of mine.
You go for it. I'm done.
Okay. Just another favorite round for me was Weston Wizakovich, like one of the biggest winners we had at Super Softs, and I mean the kid's just long been a hitter, right? And it's one thing to take a loud round of BP and just show off the power, but he was showing real feel to hit. Just I love the bat and I love the way it works and just the approach that he shows in game and in his rounds of BP. But he was up to 103 and average 95. And with him, he's a catcher outfielder, but he ran a 6.6, so the tools continue to get better across the board, and couldn't be a bigger fan of him. I can just keep rolling here. I got an upside sleeper on the north side of Downers where I'm at, Charlie Coman, 2029. Now, I only saw the bat, but I know that he's interesting on the mound too, but just super loose and handsy, right? It's just, he's one of the kids that we were all kind of pointing to at the JFGs and being like, that kid's going to be a stud. Like, he's maybe not as loud or as toolsy as a Polly Hobbs right now, but like, that's what it looks like at that age. It's fluid. You dream on the movements, but the frame is getting better. Like, it's 6 foot 178 now, and the strength is starting to be a little more prevalent. He's up to 96. And I saw he was up to 81 on the mound with feel for a curveball and a changeup. So a good two-way for DGN, and they just keep adding to their list of prospects over there.
Well, I've got an upside bat I want to touch on now. This is one of Drew's favorite guys, I think, but it's Drew Whitney out of Barrington at 2028. Kind of came onto the scene for us last summer. I believe he moved in from out of state. I don't remember what state that is, but
I want to say maybe Georgia.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing
okay.
out there.
That sounds right. But left-handed hitter, 6'2", 194. Really impressed us with the bat last summer, but man, it's gotten so much better. It's direct, it's simple. There were a ton of line drives, and he had a max EV of 100. So, a guy I'm curious to see if he can get any at bats for Barrington this spring. Which, not to spoil anything in a coming episode, but I think we're all really high on Barrington entering this spring, and Whitney's definitely a part of that. Whether or not he gets at bats on varsity this year or not, so.
All right, guys. Well, I can kind of finish us off on this underclass talk here. Couple notes that I had, like one thing I'm always kind of peeking at during bullpen settings is the catchers. Like, it's great to be watching the arms, but these arms that are throwing really, really good stuff at a young age, like I want to see the catchers that are handling them. One that really stood out, and you guys just kind of mentioned like top overall prospects from the event. I think you can throw this guy in the mix, but Terrell Hampton Hall, he's a 2029 at De La Salle. Like, it's as advanced with the glove and the receive as I've seen in a long time for that age. Really quiet receiver and like elite glove hand. Sticking balls, handling velo, all that kind of stuff. And then another guy that stood out to me was another 2029, Mason Carlson. He caught Anderson Kaufman. First off, like, just being a 2029 and jumping in and catching a 2028 like says a lot. But then watching him catch Anderson Kaufman, it was so good that I had to call out like, hey, who's catching right now? Because Kaufman's throwing 90-92 at the bottom of the zone. It's a big-time breaking ball. It's a good changeup. And Carlson is sticking everything. So Joliet Catholic 2029, Mason Carlson. Isaiah Walter, I think, stood out as well catching bullpens. And then he was going to be someone that I was going to mention in kind of my next category here. Like, not only did he show well catching bullpens, and he stayed to catch the Upperclass. Like, Underclass got done. We bring in the Upperclass arms, and he's a guy that's like, hey, I want to catch these 2027s. Says a lot about him. There's a lot of catchers that, are ready to get out of there before, Underclass is even done. He's a guy that wants to stay, whether it's because he wants to, continue to get better, or he wants to see these 27 arms, whatever it is. Like, you got to love that grind. And that's what it takes to be a catcher at the next level. Like, catchers have to grind harder than any other position. So that really stood out to me, and that came after in the underclass portion, like he stood out to me as a data darling guy. Ran a 6.7760. He was 80 from the crouch, low pop time of 188, exit velocity of 103. So like checking off a ton of boxes there across the board, and love to see that he stayed and caught bullpens. Tyler, you mentioned Jacob Height, as a bullpen that you really liked, and I just wanted to kind of mention him as a position player here too. Like you've gotten in on him. He went from a 709 last year to a 680 at this event 60. He went from an 81 to an 86 in the outfield. His exit velocity was in the double digits, like mid to upper 90s last year. Now it's 103. Some other data darling guys I want to get in on. Outfielder Barrett Schifferdecker at Loyola. He's a 2028, 6'3", 204-pound left-handed hitter, and is like, man, first off, checking off the frame box, and then runs a 6'7", 160. He's 88 from the outfield. It's a 104 exit velocity. He's a guy that I'm like, as soon as these videos are all up, like I'm watching that video, I'm locking in on that, and that's going to be a name that's firmly in that follow list for future games. Outfielder Gavin Helpingstein from Brother Rice, 2028. As athletic as it comes from, all the athletic testing that we do at the event, led the event with a 6'6", 260, was 86 from the outfield, 101 exit velocity, but then we do our Vald vertical jump test on a jump mat, force plate, whatever you want to call it. He jumped 35 inches. The next highest was Chiroto. We talk about Chiroto just being a guy and, being a two-way guy, running a 6'7", 8", or whatever he ran. But like Chiroto was next up at 29 inches. Helpingstein was 6 inches better than that. And there is a large grouping from like 29 to 27. So like talk about outlier numbers that came out of this event. Gavin Helpingstein's vert jump was, as big of an outlier as we saw. So just some guys there that I felt like deserve some mention, and I'm sure there are so many others that we can mention from that event. But guys, I'm ready to move on to Upperclass, unless I missed anybody there in Underclass you guys want to get in on.
No, let's get right into Upperclass, best overall prospect. For anyone that listens consistently, back in around Christmas time, you probably saw our Team Hammett and Team Lacascio 2027 little draft we did, and I think Team Hammett came away pretty excited with our picks after right-handed pitcher Colin Doyle, Downers Grove North 2027's bullpen. He was up to 96. Probably one of the biggest winners from the day, first off. But fastball is 93 to 95, touch 96, out of a 6'6", 224-pound frame. Moves really well, and it seems like there's still more to come in that frame. It was loose, repeatable, athletic, threw a slider at 81 to 84 that averaged 2396 RPM. Also threw a changeup at 81 to 84 with fade. But, I mean, Colin, a Duke commit, one of the most impressive pens, probably the most impressive pen of the day.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tee Tyler up for Traxton Roberts here, but I mean, those two guys are on our team, and I'm feeling pretty good. But a little bit more about Colin. It's a starter all day. You know what I mean? It's like he repeats, he's in the zone at that size, and the way that moves, like you don't see that. That's outlier stuff, like Drew just said. Someone that can move like that at that size. But yeah, I mean, a little more about him. He's one of the best players on their basketball team that just their season just finally ended in the playoffs, but he was their leading scorer, leading rebounder. He got a little bit dinged up on their game Wednesday and came out of the game and was begging to go back in. That just speaks to the type of kid he is. And then he came in through 96 on Saturday. So just an unbelievable athlete, and I'm super excited to go and see him this spring.
For all the guys that we saw at the event, like he was the one to me that came away as the biggest winner. Upperclass, underclass, despite how good Anderson Kaufman was in the underclass and some other guys, like it was Colin Doyle's show and everybody else, in my opinion. It looked like we were watching a big leaguer on the mound, and I don't want to blow a guy up too much. I get that they're only in high school, all this stuff, but like It's exactly what it should look like. If he was throwing in the Super 60 this year, it would have been one of my favorite bullpens. It was ultra easy for his 6'6", 224-pound frame. It has starter profile written all over it, like you said. And like, to me, he went from being a guy that we saw last spring. We invited him to the future games. He wasn't able to attend, but he was 88, maybe touching a 90 in game. And, some wasn't like the most polished, perfect pitcher that you had ever seen last year watching him in the spring. The strides that he's made with the overall repertoire, throwing the slider the way he is at 81, 84, he's a guy that you give it another year. We could be talking about this guy coming off the Super 60 next winter, pitching at 96, 99, making it look super easy and being on like top 1 to 3 round first day type draft pick. That to me is what I saw out of Colin Doyle. And, from a national lens, like he's a guy that should be in the mix for All-American game. He's a guy that Shooter Hunt should be all over, and, pro scouts here in the future. Like there's not much to nitpick there on Colin Doyle. And I know we're going like long-winded on him, but it's deservedly so. We could probably talk for another 30 minutes on everything about him. So the fact that Pete, you mentioned, like, also plays basketball, made this jump like during the basketball season. So, he's either just an ultimate freak, or he's, working his tail off during the basketball season to make jumps, whether it's hitting the weight room or doing his throwing routines or whatever it is. Like, it speaks volumes. He's not a guy that all winter long was training for, only baseball specific stuff. Like, he's playing basketball, he's getting rebounds, he's getting dinged up in a playoff game, and he comes here and does what he does. So I can't speak enough about Colin Doyle, and that's a guy we need to get out early on and just see, okay, yes, it's 93, 95, touching a 6 in a bullpen. Like, what is it in game? How polished has it kind of tuned up, and where can we go from here? But, man, was that fun to watch.
And I mean, another one from that Upperclass event that was on my mound, right-handed pitcher, Traxton Roberts, a 2027 out of Armstrong, committed to Kentucky, and he continues to look like a high-level arm in the class. It's really polished. Something that really impressed me about Traxton in this pen was he was telling his catcher, I think he was throwing to Lucas Beatty, a 2027 at Normal Community, but he was telling Lucas, hey, slider in, slider here, slider, and he was telling him where he was throwing these pitches at, and he would dot it up, and he would do it. And his fastball was 91 to 94, up to 95, average 2370 RPM, had carry through the zone. Curveball was 73 to 75, average 2642 RPM. Said he was starting to throw this like slider cutter pitch now, and it was 80 to 81, average 2596 RPM. And then the changeup was 83 to 85, had a ton of fade. Like, it was so polished, a lot of strikes. The pitches are all different shapes. It's clean, it's loose. He's a repeatable mover. I think Traxton Roberts is a high-level arm in the class. He continues to get better each time we saw him or see him. I know we've talked about it a lot, but in the past, like last summer, came to the future games, came to the state games, just kept getting better and better and better each time we saw him. And again, I think at this event, it was only better again.
One of the top breaking balls in the class. To go along with this, 91, 94, touching 95-mile-an-hour fastball, and like those levers, you gotta love it. It's loose, it's whippy. I'm all in on Traxton Roberts. He was probably one of the biggest winners of anybody in the 27 class in 2025, and like starts out his 26 with a bang.
I'm going to go with right-handed pitcher Mason Breach out of Geneva, 2027. He's a Michigan State commit. His pen was so impressive to me. Like, I don't know that I've ever seen this since I've been doing this. There might have been one pitch that was located above the thigh. Everything was at the knees. He's just absolutely pounding the bottom of the zone with everything he threw. He's 6 foot 170. Like, he's an impressive athlete. Like, he ran a 6.63 as well. Also had a max EV of 99.6 with the bat from the right side. Like, he's a guy at Geneva who's probably going to lead off and play center field when he's not pitching. Like that's the type of athlete and baseball player he is. But more just in depth on his stuff. Like his fastball was 88 to 90. He throws from that lower, sidearm slot. Like it's a really tough slot on hitters, especially high school hitters. But fastball 88 to 90. I'm a big fan of his slider at 77 to 79. It's got that like firm late bite to it. Also showed a like real changeup 84 to 86. It's got that firm downer action, just really like drops off the table. And then he's also showing a curveball, as a potential fourth pitch he's working on 76 to 78. But man, I was just blown away. Like I said, I don't know that I've ever seen a pen where like it's just everything is bottom of the zone right at the knees. So loved that pen, and yeah, he was my favorite from the day.
Yeah, I mean, talking about upside arms now, left-handed pitcher Quinn Rooney at 2027 at Bennett, committed to Notre Dame. 6'6", 206-pound frame, long levers, wiry, ton of physical development still to come in that frame. But fastball was 88 to 90, touch 91, had arm side action to it. Showed a curveball at 69 to 71 miles an hour, 1-7 shape, had some depth, and then a changeup in the upper 70s. But I think Quinn's got a lot more room to polish up that whole arsenal, continue to get the velo going like more and more, higher and higher, and then the frame just getting that more physically developed. Like I think there's just a lot more to come still in Quinn Rooney. But overall, I was impressed with the pen, and I like the upside.
Yeah, Gav. I mean, the bat was actually really good too. I mean, he's a two-way, like high level guy on both sides of the ball. But I mean, the swing is just long levered and like easy power for days. It was up to 107, and he gets to the power really easily. But one of my favorite more upside rounds of the day that definitely needs to be mentioned.
My upside arm, I'm funny enough, I'm going with yet another Mason and another guy who was on our Future Games team this last summer. And Mason Rychetsky out of Kennedy High School, right-handed arm. He's still uncommitted, but 6'1", 203. With his pen, like I just felt like there was a ton of feel and polish. His fastball was 88 to 89 with feel for the zone. Kind of had that run to it to the arm side. His curveball 76 to 78 with depth. Again, feel for the zone. And then his changeup was 76 to 78 with fade. But like, really just thought everything came out good out of the hand. Wasn't a ton of like max effort in there at all. Like I thought it was pretty easy. So just really big fan of Mason. He came to our state games last year, threw well at future games. So just curious to see where he lands. Like I said, uncommitted guy. So schools out there should be taking a look at Mason this spring.
One of the biggest winners for me was right-handed pitcher Cole Ruggieri, a Missouri commit, 2027 out of Wabansie Valley. And the reason that he was one of the biggest winners was just that I felt like his arsenal, his three-pitch mix was a lot more polished than what maybe we've seen in the past. The frame, it's lean, he's athletic, he's got some strength at 6'2", 181. He's always been a pretty good mover with a quick arm. The arm seems like it's a little bit shorter of a path now, but the fastball, it's always been like a low 90s guy, and he was 92 to 93 in this look. The slider was 81 to 82. It averaged negative 11.6 inches of IVB and negative 10.3 inches of horizontal movement. It was kind of like a sweeper feel. Also threw a changeup at 80 to 82 with heavy fade, and he had a feel that landed around the zone. So I was really impressed with Cole's pen, and just a guy that we've been kind of waiting for to really polish up that arsenal, I think.
I don't know if now's the right time to jump in here, but
I can go if you want, Drew, if you need more time.
yeah, I mean, I think just one thing I want to mention, Tyler and guys, is like, we talk about how good this event was and how hard these guys have been working, and it's crazy to see what these numbers are doing these days, and how hard guys are throwing. And like, from when I first started doing this and running preseason all states to what the velocities are, and just looking at the arms that came out for the 2027s, we had 22 arms that were 90 plus. Like, that to me is just absurd. And yeah, some of them are committed, but the high level of uncommitted arms that are still out there that have crazy velo. 90 really is like what the old like 86 was when I started. And like now if you're touching like 95, that's like what the old 90 was, I feel like. So it is just kind of nuts to sit back and look through these numbers. And exit velocities are going the same way. And I think there's something to be said about that with, making sure we're not losing the art of being a hitter, and just not just trying to hit some big number during BP, like actually having a swing that plays and short to the ball and balanced and stuff like that. But um, some guys on the mound that were 90 plus that really stood out to me and we had great notes on. I'm just gonna rattle off a few, like Cash Van Houten at Canton. He's a two-way guy. We love him as a position player too. Was a two-way at the future games. He committed to Illinois. He sat 92, 93 at this event. And it was like, same old Cash. Just continues to do it. One of the more talented prospects in the class. And then some uncommitted guys that I think deserve some love, like that just there's so many guys to talk about, but Russell Hangles in Maine South is a guy that's been trending well. Just kind of keeps improving. The velo keeps getting better. The body's legit. It's like 6'4" and strong and athletic. He was 90 to 92, touching 93. Austin Wingy. Austin, I think I'm definitely, mispronouncing that. I know you told us how to pronounce it back at the future games while you were throwing for Team Select. And since then, I think I've gotten my brain in a pretzel on that one and don't know how to pronounce it. So, but Lockport, uncommitted, really quick arm, over the top, 91, 93, like looked a lot stronger. Like he had really been getting after it in the wintertime. And he's got one of the better breaking balls in the class that plays really well off that over the top slot, downer action to it. Owen Satterley, kind of the same way. Strong body guy at Prairie Ridge, had a really good spring for them this past year. 90-92 with a downer breaking ball. Was in the zone a lot with some carry to the fastball. Colin Schweigen at Rockridge, like he just keeps getting better as well. He came as a two-way guy. He was a two-way for the future games, but it's 89-91 now with depth to the breaking ball. I thought it was thrown really aggressively, had shown a little bit more feel than we had seen in the past, and then a changeup at 76-78. And guys, like the first arm of the day for Upperclass as we're transitioning from Underclass. And you guys are probably going to give me some grief because this was another one of your draft picks here for the 2027 crew. I can already see you guys itching to get in there and call us out. But Jimmy Benson at St. Lawrence, like St. Lawrence is a school we're really, really high on coming into this spring. And Jimmy Benson is a big reason why. Like he had a great spring for them last year. He's 6'8", 227 pounds. Like, it's an outlier frame. He's a TCU commit. It's a low slot, like, big extension. Was getting all kinds of swing and misses when he was pitching at, like, 81, 84 last spring. It was 82, 86, up to 87, sweeping slider like we've seen, and just, like, continues to get better, continues to take those strides. I don't think there's any slowing down with him. So just some guys that I wanted to get in here and mention, and I know there's some others as well.
Yeah.
Come on, call me out.
Drew,
Let's go.
I do really appreciate you giving Team Hammett some free publicity because we also drafted Austin Wingy in that draft. So we really appreciate the free pub.
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
Well, and a lot of these guys that I'm talking about or just mentioned, it kind of correlates too with looking at our preseason previews that are going to be coming up. Hopefully later this week, if we can get all of our work in, it's really tough because we're following up from all the winter stuff, everything we just saw this past weekend, which is close to 500 players. And then transitioning into like the high school season's around the corner and we want to get our preseason previews out, our Power 25, but these guys played a big role in like what we're looking at. Maine South's a school we're really high on. I don't want to give away too much, but like Lockport as well. Prairie Ridge was a school that we talked about. Obviously St. Lawrence. So a lot of these guys have a lot to do with these programs and these pitching staffs that we're looking at, and how many arms do they have? How many quality arms? The depth, all that stuff.
Yeah, just one more arm I wanted to mention, and also just a note, like keep an eye out for our quick hits, our takeaways. Like we're gonna have so many more arms players just throughout the day for both events mentioned in these quick hits takeaways. But my last arm here is right-handed pitcher Noah Hallahan. a 2027 out of Geneva, and really strong frame. Like clearly has strength in the build, put in a ton of work, 6 foot, 201 pounds. The fastball sat 90 to 92, threw a slider at 76 to 77, and according to TrackMan, he threw it for strikes 100% of the time. And then the changeup was 82 to 83, had fade to that too, but just an uncommitted arm there. Noah Hallahan to keep an eye on.
Hey, what I love about that call out too, Gav, about the TrackMan and the 100% strikes, like TrackMan is a tight zone. Like it's a lot tighter than a high school zone. Like it's not giving you that corner. What is it, the ABS system or something that the big leagues are implementing? Like it's a tough zone. So if you do see, really good strike percentages on, a player's profile under the TrackMan section, like those are legit strikes. And guys that maybe don't have such a high, percentage, like if they're nibbling on the corners, like they still are showing feel. So it can be a little misleading when like a guy throws a breaking ball for 25% strikes, but we saw, a bunch of them land like right at the bottom of the zone or just off the outer half that in a game would probably be called a strike. So I just wanted to throw that out there because, man, if he's pounding it for 100%, that's legit feel.
Big winner for me on the day, and Drew, you kind of touched on it, just guys we saw this winter that are kind of helping shape our opinions for the spring. But right-handed arm Charlie Caroselli out of Providence Catholic at 2027, uncommitted. For me with Charlie is just the strides he's made, like year over year. This kid keeps getting better. I was actually doing some digging. So with Charlie, like I remember 2 years ago at the state games, this would have been the 2024 state games, was just absolutely dealing at this event. Mind you, his fastball velo at that event was 75 to 78. And he's getting a ton of outs against a bunch of guys that are, older than him, and just absolutely dealing. And like with Charlie, like he could always throw his off-speed stuff for strikes. He always did a really good job of changing speeds in game, messing with hitters' timing. And now at Allstate, the velo has made a significant jump. He's 86 to 87. Again, like he still has the pitchability of his off-speed stuff, right? Like, and to me, like I think that could be, maybe just a learning point for like these young arms coming up, right? Like it's not all about your velocity at that young age. Like develop that off-speed stuff first, because eventually the velocity will come. Like it will, as you get older, as you mature, and like Charlie to me is a great example of that. Like, so now at Allstate, right? 86, 87 with the fastball. It's got that hard arm side run to it. His slider was 69 to 71. Feel for the bottom of the zone, and then his changeup was 75 to 76 with fade and sink. And to me, like I think that's his best off-speed offering right now. Like I think that's a real pitch that can get a ton of swing and misses this spring. But I think the cool thing with Charlie, and like something Coach Smith over there at Provi is really gonna love, is I think he's versatile. Like he could start, he could relieve, come out of the pen, just eat a bunch of innings. But obviously, we're all really big fans of Charlie here, and so it's really cool to just kind of see the jumps he's made.
And I thought you said it perfectly. I love me some Charlie Caroselli. One of the best kids, one of the hardest workers, I think, in the class. So to see him just continuing to go on the right trajectory, and that is what it's all about. All about. You mentioned like where he's come from, and man, there's no slowing down with his stuff and his velo. Like he's just going to continue to get better.
I know Drew's been hyping up our team a lot. So I'm going to have to give him a little bit of love with Tristan Steger as one of my favorite prospects from the day, just one of my favorite showings. I just love the swing. The left-handed swing, it's really strong with easy power and fluidity in there. Peaked at 106, averaged 93. Had one of the best batted ball distances of the day with 401. But there's just that easy flick in the barrel through the zone, up the middle. The barrel stays through the zone, too, like it's going to play in-game. And he just controls that barrel easily, too. But he's also a good athlete. Like, he runs a 6.84 as a catcher, which is, more than enough. Like, that means he's probably athletic enough to go to the outfield if he ever needed to. But I wouldn't want to move him from behind the plate because he's so good back there, too. Like, he popped a 178 and was up to 82 from the shoot. So, great all-around showing. And then one more kid that I really liked that I thought showed really well for himself is another catcher in Shane Torres from Obanzi Valley, 2027. Another one of my favorite rounds of the day, left-handed hitter. I love the way that swing works too. He's long been one of my favorite left-handed bats in the state, but he peaked at 103, averaged 97, and he was all over the barrel with natural lift. Like he averaged over 300 feet for his max batted distance and got up to 383. But I think what's more impressive is he got his pop time down from a 2 to a 188, and he added 4 miles an hour to his catching velo up to 79 now. So that defense continues to trend in the right direction, which I think will help only elevate his prospect status. And then I actually had a couple guys I just wanted to shout out for their rounds of BP. The first being Gavin Stanislavski from Brother Rice. They're actually both from Brother Rice, but he had the loudest round of the day by far, up to 111 miles an hour, averaging 104. So his average was better than most guys' peaks. That's like Super 60 numbers right there. Like I think the peak EV at the Super 60 was about 111. So ties that, and then 104 for the average is like way up there for Super 60 numbers as well. But he maxed at 401 for the distance, and it was just a really polished round. Like he wasn't trying to just lift and pull and elevate the ball with a ton of intent. It was pretty low effort with a really clean swing and a good approach. He was working up the middle and like naturally lifting the ball pull side, but it was not like the hat flying off, turn and burn type round. And then Brady Cunningham, just an absolute freak. I'd be remiss to not mention his round. 109 miles an hour for the peak, average 97. Led the event with a 437-foot batted distance. So freakish power, and he's just a freak all around, right? Like I saw a video floating around on Instagram. Actually, Cooper Trinkle sent it to me, just like further cementing how much he likes him as well. He double broad jumped 20 feet, which is like NFL wide receiver type athleticism. And I mean, the guy's like 6'4", 220. So, and he ran a 6'5" with a 158 10-yard split. So he just continues to impress all around. I'm really excited for him. I mean, we just had him at the Joliet preseason pitcher ID, and he was up to 93. So, I mean, he's just a freak on both sides of the ball, and he's also on Team Hammett, by the way.
Well, Hammett, just to touch on like the Joliet pitcher ID as well as our Joliet preseason ID we held this past Sunday, like just so everyone knows, like we will talk about both those events. We're looking to do that next week. Hammett, I know you and me both absolutely loved the Joliet pitcher ID coming off of it, as us both being ex-pitchers. Like it was incredible. I thought like every single arm there was good, but regardless, moving over, I've got a southpaw standout I want to touch on. It's left-handed arm, also left-handed bat. Tommy Hosty out of Marist, an uncommitted 2027. Had always heard good things about him on the mound. I had yet to see it. I was very, very impressed. He's 6', 200, strong-looking kid. He's a two-sport athlete over there at Marist. Also plays football. You can tell with the frame, like looks like a very physical kid. His fastball is, and he calls it, a true two-seam. 88 to 90, touching 91 from the left side. He was kind of pounding that thing right at the bottom of the zone as well. But the off speed, he was spinning a tight slider at 74 to 77. And I really liked his changeup at 80 to 82 miles an hour, showing some downer action to it. But on the position side of things, like he ran a 6'9", 160. He was 88 from the outfield with a 100 mile an hour max EV, and like Tommy's a guy I've seen him do it in game. Like I was really impressed with this kid last spring when I saw him with the bat, so we know he can do it in game as well. But big southpaw standout for me.
I got some guys that just stood out for me, one way or another. Most of them, you could put under the category of like data darlings. And that's where I want to start. All these guys that I'm going to mention are uncommitted. All these guys should be high follows, in my opinion, moving forward. But Carson Hamblin at Lake Zurich, he's been a varsity starter now as an underclassman. Just kind of a freak. There's been a couple of those guys that we've talked about in the best light possible when you say that word. Ran a 6'4", 860, so he led the event with the 60-yard dash. He ran He was up to 90 from the outfield, which I want to say is a 10-mile-an-hour jump from where he was last year. I think he was topping at 80 from the outfield. And then had a 101 exit velocity, left-handed hitter with some thump in the barrel. Just clearly a hard worker, can flat fly. When you start talking about that speed power combination, like Hamblin's got that. He's definitely one to know from the event. Mikey Watson, infielder at Homewood Flossmoor, was second in the event with a 6.4960, 84 across the infield, 101 exit velocity. And Mikey's actually committed to UIC, is he not? I think I mentioned that these guys are going to be uncommitted guys. So throwing you in here, Mikey, but you're UIC. Good get there for UIC. And this should be his first spring at Homewood Flossmoor. So definitely an impact guy coming over there to the Vikings for this upcoming spring. And they're another team that, like, we've talked a lot about. We've seen a lot of their guys throughout the winter. They are super, super intriguing going into this spring. Connor Crumry at OPRF, Pete, I know you said he took a really, really loud round of BP. The numbers say that. Peaked at 108 exit velocity, but also ran a 6.5560. Really strong body. Looks like he could be a linebacker on a football field. Just another one of those guys with that speed power combination that you need to pay attention to. And then one of my fan favorites, biggest kind of winners from the entire event was Paxton Freeborn out of Naperville North. Maybe it's the high school that he goes to that, piqued my interest even more. But it's a long-levered, high-waisted outfielder, left-handed hitter, 6'5", 960, 102 EV. And Pete, I was up there in the cage watching his round of BP. And, there's a lot of ways to get a big exit velo like we're talking about kind of throughout the day. Like, how do you get to these big numbers? Man, he was short and direct and flat through the zone and highly repeatable and super balanced and just has those whippy levers that are going to continue to get better. Like, I was very, very impressed with Paxton Freeborn. And then it's like a long strider, ran a 6.59. The arm was super lively in the outfield. He is a name to know that, like, you look at where he was last summer when he came to an event, every single thing has ticked up for Paxton. And I think there is so much more to come with him. I was really, really impressed with his showing. Keaton Ariano, another outfielder, left-handed hitter that, like, he was hurt a lot of last year. Clearly is back healthy now, and I thought he made a loud statement at the event. Geneseo High School, 6.5860, 90 from the outfield, 101 exit velocity, elevates, routinely in BP to gap. And that's a name that was like, we didn't see much last year. And then now it's like, okay, we really need to see this guy. Like, we start talking about 2027s, especially if they're uncommitted. The first thing that pops into my head is that senior future games. It was so good this past summer down in Georgia that, like, alongside the future games and the junior future games, like, Keaton Ariano's a guy that, put his name in the mix for that. Ryan Tucker at Jacobs. There's actually two Jacobs guys I want to mention, but Ryan Tucker showed really well at the McHenry preseason ID earlier this winter. Did it again. 6'7", 160, 87 across the infield, 99 max EV, and took a really good round of BP. Jace Koth, to me, has just continued to impress all winter. I know I talked to him coming off the McHenry preseason ID. I was locked in on Upperclass outfield defense, and he was, as good as that group was floating around the outfield, like, he stood out with the pace that he played at, the foot speed, the bounce that he had, the actions. It looked like a high-level center fielder playing through the baseball with confidence. 92 from the outfield. Like, the arm really, really works. It's lively, it's whippy, it's athletic, it's really clean. And then peaked offensively at a 94-mile-an-hour exit velocity. But that's a guy that's a top-of-the-order type guy, going to spray it around the yard, cause havoc on the bases, and, hopefully play a lockdown center field. So, really liked Koth. And then mentioned Colin Schweigen earlier on the mound. But man, like, he checked off a ton of boxes as a position guy too. Ran a 6'7", 360, 92 from the outfield, 104 exit velocity. Just speaks to the athleticism that he has, and also a high level quarterback as well. So Just a couple guys I wanted to get in on and mention. They definitely deserve mentions. And like we said earlier, there's so many other guys that we can mention from this. And looking forward to, continuing to dig through all the data from the event, put the quick hits together, write up reports on these guys, rewatch videos, go through the whole thing. And a lot of these guys are going to impact some upcoming rankings that we have next week. We're going to be updating the 27 class, the 2028 class, and the 2029 class. And one of the things I don't like to do is go too crazy with these rankings and moving guys and juicing guys off of just a showcase. But when it is guys that we've seen in the past and we've already liked them as a player, and then their tools continue to tick up and we know that they compete in the batter's box, or they, are a high level defender, or can really play center field, or are a bulldog on the mound and they were, 83, 84 in the past and now they're 88, 90, like that does matter. And that does warrant, big jumps in the rankings and movement and shaking and all this, because if you're staying the same as a player, if your tools are staying the same as you continue to excel through high school, you're getting worse and you're going to move down the rankings. Like, you need to continue to get better to just stay at the same number you are in the rankings. So all the 27s, 28s, 29s out there, like, understand if your number moves down in the rankings, you were 50th, in the last update, and now you're 71st. You maybe have not gotten worse as a player. It's just we've seen so many players in the offseason, from the fall to the winter to the preseason all-state. There's just more guys now in that bucket that can potentially be ranked, that we put grades on, and you may have a certain grade for us, and we've seen 10 guys that come in that we know are good players that now have a little bit higher grade. You haven't changed as a player. We've just seen more players, and they warrant being in front or in the mix now, and that causes guys to move down the list when they really haven't changed as a player. So that's one of the hardest things that I kind of have to stomach when doing these rankings and putting numbers on guys, is seeing guys that were 50th or whatever and now are 70th when I like them just as much. They have not changed in our mind as a player. It's just there's a lot of guys we see and a lot of guys that are making huge jumps, and it's a huge shout out to those guys. And there's going to be newcomers in the mix. There's going to be risers. There's going to be all sorts of stuff. So a lot of guys to dig through, sift through, and then a lot of guys to see this spring. So should be an awesome spring. I know our work is going to be cut out for us, given how many follows that came out of this winter. And it's a credit to all the players out there, parents getting these players to events, letting us get our eyes on them, and seeing, all the hard work they put in the off season.
All right, let's get into our interview with Normal Community Head Baseball Coach Ryan Short.
All right, we're at the IHS BCA convention, and today we're joined by Ryan Short, the head coach of Normal Community. Coach, thanks for hopping on.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so last year you guys went 37-6, 17-1 in conference play, and then you got third at state. Kind of talk me through that run you guys had in the playoffs. I mean, it was an awesome run. I know there were times where games you were down and then came back, and just kind of talk me through that a little bit.
Yeah, we played a really tough stretch of games there in the postseason. I mean, Rock Island almost ended it the very first day, and about a foot and a half away from a home run that would have put us behind the 8 ball going to the bottom of the 7th. But fortunately, that ball fell inside the fence, and Gavin got us through the rest of the inning. And, we just played great opponents all the way through. O'Fallon was really, really tough. Got us down 4-0 in the sectional championship game, and our guys' resiliency was really great that day. And then the Waubonsie Valley game was crazy. Bases loaded situations in both the O'Fallon and the Waubonsie game. In the Waubonsie game, for Luke Clunky to get that comeback or double play was pretty gigantic.
Yeah, that O'Fallon game was one of my favorite games that I probably went to last year. And I think Max had maybe 5 RBIs in that game, like a homer, and I think he just did really well. And then Swartz, he didn't pitch that game. I think he pitched the game before.
Yeah.
And I think that was really the game for me. Just you probably saw it more just being at all the starts, but that was probably the best start that I saw from him all year. And then I think from there it carried through the rest of the playoffs and then the state. And I think that's something we're super excited about for this year. But for you guys, you bring in Josh Jones this year with bringing back Gavin Swartz. How excited are you for that pitching staff? And I know you guys bring back, I think, 9 arms that pitched last year?
8 or 9 guys who got some time on the mound last year. with every passing day, we just want it to be. We want those guys to be healthy and hungry throughout the postseason. And yeah, we're really excited to add Josh to the team and to the pitching rotation, but he can also play in the outfield and swing it too. Yeah, we're happy to get Josh. We're excited for him getting the Indiana State commit.
Yeah.
He's going to bring depth and excitement and enthusiasm to our team. But yeah, the guys we bring back, Landon Corbin had a fantastic year last year. I'm excited for what Lucas Beatty is going to be able to do this spring. He had a great year, a great fall as our starting quarterback his junior year here. So yeah, we're excited for what those guys are going to bring.
Yeah, and to touch on that note, you guys have 2 D1 commits at catcher, and then you also have Lucas Beatty, who's on our boards. He's a top 10 catcher in the 27 class. How does that depth play into it for you guys?
Yeah, I'm crazy blessed. Coaching all the way back into junior high, as Drew Stevens was at the junior high I coach at Chittick's, and Max Heineman was at Evans, and it was really good junior high baseball when those kids were in 7th and 8th grade, and now they're varsity guys, and they both happen to be at Normal Community now, so we're really blessed there. And before we even talk about Lucas, Tice Beckman is also a senior that isn't really on people's radars probably as a catcher because we have 2 Division I's, but he's got a lot of Division III interest in the American Rivers Conference over in Iowa and some other places over there that I think Tice will land too. And he had a really good summer defensively on his summer team. But yeah, Lucas is a jack of all trades. He could play all 9 positions depending on the day. But yeah, behind the plate he's really good, just quick release. One of those field general type guys, just like Drew and Max are. So yeah, beyond lucky.
I always talk to our guys about, when I go and see you guys, seeing Lucas for the first time. When he was playing third, I think I saw him in warm-ups, and Kyle was at short, and he's almost like a spitting image defensively of his brother. The way they move, just super athletic. So having a guy like that can play third, play anywhere on the field, and then also catch too, is super helpful for you guys. But with this 2026 season, what are you most excited about going into it?
Really, I'm most excited to kind of experience how this year's seniors, last year's juniors, just bring everybody back together. And we know in sports, in high school sports especially, that you can't predict one season based on the way the last season. You can't predict one group based on the way the last group was. And we had a group last year that, 24 kids I would have taken home and called my own. So to try to find a way to let this year's group replicate that in their own way without saying, we need to do what last year's group did, or we need to be as good as they were. That doesn't do anybody any good in the long run. I just hope that this group can find the best version of themselves in time to make another good run.
Who are some teams in your conference that you guys are, think are going to be pretty good this year?
Rich Woods is going to be solid this year. They bring back a lot of pitching experience, and they are 4A now.
Okay.
So they're up, so we'll deal with them in the postseason as well. Champaign Central is going to be really good. They have that pitcher that committed to Wright State.
Yep.
And they've got the Pipkins kid and just young, two-way talent. And Coach Staub going to be, inducted into the Hall of Fame here tomorrow night. So we're excited for what our conference is going to be solid. Normal West will be good as always. We feel badly for Chase Reinhardt. We hope he's able to get back into on the mound maybe this year. But they're not going to. They don't want any pity. So they're going to come in with their gloves up. And Andy Turner is going to be in the dugout with Coach Hawkins. And so it's going to be one of the best dugouts in Illinois, bar none. So those teams would probably be the toughest teams in our conference in addition to us.
Okay. Do you guys have any underclassmen that you want to mention, or just maybe we'll find time, or just even JV guys that are just on the up and up in the next few years?
Obviously, Lucas is a junior, someone who you'll see. We've got our junior class is really pretty solid as well. Carter Reiners on the mound is a good arm who we're looking to be a depth piece for us, and who knows, Carter's had good success as a starter and had a good summer this year. Kyle Glass is another pitcher who we're going to look for. Colin Kerfoot in the outfield, as well as Owen Knox, who's kind of an everywhere type player.
Yeah.
So we've got some guys who if we're fortunate enough to be winning some games, by a lot of runs late in the game, gosh, I think teams will think, man, they're coming at us with some more guys, and that's what we hope.
All right, so I got to finish this up with, so I've lived in Bloomington normal for the past 5 years now, I think. So what is your favorite place to eat at in Bloomington?
And I saw that picture, and I panicked, because unfortunately I like to eat out. My wife would tell you. Avani's is one of my all-time favorites. Flinger's Pizza,
yes, yep.
Especially if you eat at Flinger's, is really good. My kids love Chili's for some crazy reason, but that's good. It's hard to go wrong with places like Gill Street, and over on the other side of town, I'm blanking on it now, Crawford's Corner Pub on the west side of town. Just you can't go hungry in Bloomington normal if you got a little money to spend and find some places to go.
One of my favorite places that I found in the past year is Luca Grill in downtown Bloomington. They got great pizza there. That's one of my favorite places.
And shout out to Ivy Lane Bakery, where my younger son works in downtown Bloomington. If you want a great scone or cinnamon roll, chocolate chip cookie, they're
I'll have to check that out.
They're very good.
Yeah.
Right down there by Luca.
Yes. Okay. All right. We appreciate you hopping on, Coach. Good luck in 2026. I look forward to coming and seeing you guys play.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
All right, that'll wrap up episode 60 here of the Bullpen. As always, appreciate you guys listening. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube, and follow us on Apple and Spotify podcasts, and rate us on Spotify and Apple podcasts.
Please get that rating in. Make sure you subscribe, follow us, whatever you can do to help us out. And man, super pumped for what we have coming up. This is a busy time of year for us, but it's one of the best times of year. Doing the Power 25, finishing up all these names that we saw all winter long, and then kicking off the season with the Kickoff Classic. So a ton of good matchups down there, and thanks for everybody for coming out this winter to all of our preseason ID events, getting to the preseason All-State, making this one of the best winters we've ever had.